Welcome to the Sorcery Podcast, your sacred space to delve into spiritual tools, topics, and practices that will illuminate your path of soul remembering and healing. I'm your host, Ligia Costa, a soul guide, alchemist, soul writing coach, and the creator of the Trust Pathway. I'm deeply grateful to have you here with me. Together, we'll embark on a profound exploration of self-discovery and healing, unlocking the secrets that lie within. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sorcery Podcast. Today we are diving into a theme that is especially relevant for us highly sensitive people, and is about how social media impacts our energy, our mood, and even our sense of self. As a highly sensitive woman myself, I've experienced firsthand how social media can stir up emotions I didn't even realize I was carrying. And today I want to reflect on how we as sensitive beings can navigate this modern landscape with more awareness so that we can protect ourselves from the overwhelm that social media can bring. In a world that it's so constantly connected, we can't even imagine ourselves without, our phones and being on social media and texting and messaging and Snapchatting and recording every moment of our lives. But it's so easy to forget that as highly sensitive people, we don't just consume the information we read online. We feel it, okay? Everything on the screen, from a picture that you see on Instagram from your friend on vacation to an influencer's latest product launch, sends energy signals to our heart and to our minds and our bodies. And we don't even realize how deeply it affects us, because what we think is just us reading a post is more than that. We are absorbing its energy. Not to talk about the actual stimuli from the screen itself, right? And, the light of the screen and how fast we are scrolling, the sounds and the imagery that we see, all of that adds to the stimuli and the activation of our nervous system. So I want to share how we as highly sensitive people can begin to take back control a little bit and protect our sense of self while still being part of the conversation. And believe it or not, if you are a highly sensitive woman, you get even more triggered. You are even more susceptible to getting triggered by social media than if you are a man. And I'd like to go ahead and just share some of the reasons why. As women, we have often been conditioned and socialized to look at each other and compare. Isn't that right? A lot of this has to do with the witch hunts and the patriarchy, but this is a story for another episode. But it's the truth, we carry this sisterhood wound within us, or the witch wound, and we tend to compare ourselves and gossip a lot between us. And we notice the little things, the hair, the makeup, the outfit, the career progression, the lifestyle, the cars, the homes, the vacations, all of these details that we observe and sometimes hold ourselves against. They can really activate us. And social media, in its beautiful curated form, just magnifies all of this. And here's the thing. When we are constantly exposed to these images, our minds start to automatically judge ourselves. We wonder if we are measuring up. We question our own lives. And this, for us as highly sensitive, it's a dangerous place to be. Because the subtle energy of comparison can be so overwhelming for us. especially when we are in an already vulnerable state. For a highly sensitive person, the emotional weight of comparing ourselves to others can easily tip us into feelings of inadequacy or frustration, and we feel like we are not doing enough, that we are not being enough, and perhaps we even feel guilty for our own successes or our own blessings because they don't look like somebody else's. And in the overstimulation from the screens, the endless scrolling, and the information that we consume in our online communities, you have a recipe for emotional exhaustion. For us sensitive people, screens are not just a source of information. They are an emotional trigger, and we can't always turn it off. Okay? And as I mentioned before, and it's something that we not always take in consideration, is the screens themselves. You know, the blue light, the constant influx of new information, the flashing notifications, all of it can be a sensory overload for highly sensitive people. And if you are someone who already feels the weight of the world's energy more intensely, then the impact of social media can be so hard to filter out. So think about it for a moment. Have you ever felt drained after scrolling through Instagram or Facebook? Or worse, have you found yourself spiraling into a negative thought cycle after reading a post? That's your sensitivity at work. Your body is processing the information, and sometimes without your conscious awareness. And that can leave you feeling exhausted, triggered by things you didn't even realize that were bothering you, right? So what can we do about this? How can we, as highly sensitive people, can manage our time on social media without letting it overwhelm us? So I would like to share a few tips with you that have helped me, and hopefully they might just help you too. So the first tip is to pay attention to how you feel while you are on social media. Start by tuning into your own emotional state when you are on a platform, okay? Are you feeling uplifted, or do you notice that your mood is starting to shift into something that is not positive? Do you find yourself feeling agitated after reading a post on Facebook? Or maybe you're feeling inspired and calm after browsing, for instance, on Pinterest. If you are mindful of how certain platforms and what sort of types of posts make you feel, you can start to adjust your use of social media. And it's okay to step away from things that don't leave you feeling good, okay? And on the other hand, it's empowering to know that there are spaces where you can engage without being triggered. So that's my first tip. My second tip is to not engage when you're tired. And I know that for me, when I'm tired, my defenses are down. If, for instance, I had a long day at work or I'm emotionally drained, I'm much more likely to feel triggered by something I would have maybe otherwise brushed off. Social media should never be a place where we go to unwind if we are already feeling depleted and frustrated, because it will just add fuel to the fire. So if you can, try to avoid checking social media when you are already tired or when you are feeling emotionally vulnerable, because your sensitive soul deserves to rest and not to be flooded with external stimuli, okay? My third tip is to take breaks from social media. And this is one of the most important practice that I have adopted, okay? I regularly take breaks from social media. And there is a term for that actually, that is called social media fasting, where people kind of disconnect for periods of time just to cleanse, to cleanse themselves from the constant bombardment of information. And you don't have to go to extremes, but even taking weekends off, which I normally do frequently, I try and get some away time from social media during the weekends, or setting specific days where you don't check social media can make a world of difference. And what this practice also allows you to do is reconnect with yourself, tune back into your intuition and restore your energy. And my last tip is to set time limits. And again, for me, limiting my social media time has been a game changer. For instance, I try to set a time limit of 30 minutes or less for each session I'm online. And I normally go there, I post what I have to post regarding, my work. I go into my Facebook community, I go into my Instagram, and I post, I scroll a bit, I share some things in my stories, but I don't stay more than half an hour on it. And this helps me to avoid getting sucked into the endless scroll, which can often lead to, feelings of inadequacy or deepening that comparisonitis that we are so aware of. I also do have on my phone, after 9 o'clock, my phone goes into sleep mode on my apps. So I don't get any notifications of my apps after that time, unless I go into the app itself and I see the notifications. But reducing, the constant noise of the notification also allows me to not check social media so often. And another helpful tip is to focus on smaller but more intimate communities. For instance, Facebook groups or niche spaces where the interactions are more personal and they are less likely to trigger comparison. I rarely spend time scrolling through my general feed. Instead, I engage with people that are meaningful to me. I go into smaller communities like my Facebook group, The Realm of the Goddess. You were invited to join in, and I'll leave the link in the show notes if you want to join. So I go into my Facebook group and I'm on other Facebook group communities where the energy feels more aligned with my values. And it's like smaller communities and it feels more like family rather than, just a huge place with a lot of noise, which don't feed my soul with good things. But ultimately, it all comes down to protecting your energy, Social media can be a beautiful tool, and it is a beautiful tool for us to connect and to get inspiration. But for a highly sensitive person, it's really essential to be mindful of how it affects us. Just because something is available, it doesn't mean it's healthy for us, right? We have fast food available for us everywhere. We have alcohol available to us everywhere, but that doesn't mean that it's healthy. So it's the same thing with social media. We have the power to curate our digital experiences in a way that supports our well-being. So I'd like to invite you to take a step back today and check in with yourself. How does social media make you feel? What platforms energize you and which ones drain you? And can you take small steps to protect your precious energy and your precious sensitivity by setting healthy boundaries with your screen time? Because, again, your sensitivity needs to feel nourished and supported, not depleted. So it's up to us to take back control and just be mindful of the time we spend online. Before I love you and leave you, I'll pull a card from the Trust Journaling deck. And the card that I pulled is from the Thrive Suite. And the soul inquiry is, what does trust look like? Feel like? What does trust look like? Feel like? And the affirmation is, I trust the process. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Sorcery Podcast and for holding space for this conversation. It is truly magical to be able to walk with you on this journey of soul healing and inner transformation. If you resonated with this episode and found it valuable, I would be grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes. Your feedback helps me reach more souls searching for guidance and healing. For more guidance and soul wisdom to support soul awakening women through the journey of alchemy, please visit my website www.ligiacosta.co.uk. Love and healing to all. See you on the next one.